welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. It's great to see you. Have you had a good week?
I have been
How's
busy.
been busy? What you been doing?
Just spending some time with the family and the children.
How's work been for you?
Very busy.
Okay, kind of going over a little bit that we talked about last week, if you don't mind. You kind of came to see me as a result of a recent transitional stage you had in your life. You told me that you had been divorced for several years, that you had been living on your own and grown quite accustomed to that, but that over the last 6 months or so, you've been dating a guy pretty seriously and y'all are discussing moving in with each other. Is that still the circumstance?
Um, yes, we are still talking about it, but I'm having some doubts, so we haven't completely decided if we're going to move in together or not.
Okay, all right. Well, if you don't mind, can we kind of delve a little bit more into what those doubts might be?
Um, well, I think that I have spent a lot of my life with being alone. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten used to that. So it's more difficult for me to share my space.
I can understand that. Everybody has their own personal space. Now, I think I want to take the approach with you that how you're feeling is not wrong. Anything that you think or feel, those feelings are justified, they're legitimate, they should be validated, and there's no reason to think that you've done anything wrong.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Well, one of the biggest concerns is it does create tension. He is ready to move in and take our relationship to the next level, but I know that I require a lot of time to myself
Mhm.
um, because I grew up a single child in the home.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just don't know if I think at this point that we're gonna have to make a decision.
Okay, so you feel like he's applying pressure to you to make this move?
Absolutely, we're
Okay.
not getting any younger.
Don't age yourself, Miss Curtin. There's other people that will do that for you. Just consider your age a plus, a positive. You have lots of life experiences. And if you don't mind my asking, is the gentleman that you're discussing this moving in with, is he approximately your age?
We're close to the same age, yes.
Is his circumstance similar to yours, where he's a divorcee as well, with grown children, any grandchildren that might play a part in you guys living together?
He is divorced and he does have a couple of grown children with no grandchildren at this point.
Have you discussed moving in with him with your children, and how do they feel about
My children are actually in the process of moving out of the home, so that's a big reason he thinks now is the best time to make this transition.
it? Okay. And if you don't mind my asking, would you be moving in with him, or would he be moving in with you? What financial considerations, if you each own your own home, and have y'all discussed that with each other? Because sometimes, do you feel like you would be losing a sense of your own independence if
Yes,
you were to give up your home?
absolutely. And I don't want to do that because I've been in a position before where I had to rely on someone in my past marriage, and that made me feel like I could not make decisions or have control of anything in my life.
Now, when you say rely on someone, do you mean financially you were dependent upon that person, or they had more control in the relationship about decisions financially in particular?
I allowed them to manage the bills, and I came to the point that I realized I needed to have that knowledge as well. And so that person was insistent on being in control, and that was part of the reason that led to divorce.
Yeah, I know you're a little bit younger than me, but we are from similar backgrounds as far as both being lifelong Southerners. And do you feel as if you were reared in a family where the male was considered to be head of the household and they had a more dominant position and you were expected to be kind of subservient to them when it came to financial matters?
Absolutely. My family did, and then from a religious standpoint as well, that a woman is there to serve the man, and I've never really followed along with that. But I don't want to lose the individual, but I just think that being on my own since the divorce, it's become even more difficult to actually live with someone full time.
And how many years has it been since your divorce?
It's been about 6 years.
Okay, and so the children, you got possession or custody, excuse me, of the children, and I didn't mean to treat them like possessions. That was wrong on my part. I'm sorry. You had custody of the children. Did y'all share joint
We
custody?
have joint custody.
Is he actively involved in the children's lives?
Yes, he is.
That's good. So you consider him to have been a good father, but not necessarily a good husband.
A good father, but a very controlling and dominating personality, and I think maybe I have some characteristics of that of my own, and so I felt like I needed more independence, and he couldn't accept that.
So I know you mentioned things last week that indicated you're proud of your independence, and I can understand and appreciate the fact that you were reluctant to give up that independence. And I just want to reiterate to you again that there's nothing wrong in feeling that way. It is certainly understandable. Um, have you and your new partner had an opportunity to discuss this in a reasonable kind of compromising manner when the subject is broached with him? How did the conversations evolve? Are they productive?
Well, he feels like we're getting to the point in our lives that either we're going to move in together, or he feels like I'm moving more towards wanting to be alone, that I require more time to myself. He says if we are in, he wants to move into his home, that there's plenty of room for me to have privacy.
So
And
I'm sorry, he wants you to move in with him.
yes, he does.
Okay. Okay.
And when I'm spending time with him, I do feel that I get adequate time to myself, but then I also know I can always go home to my space.
Okay. And if you don't mind my asking, what would you do with your home? Are you considering selling it, or would you rent it out in case you wanted to return to it yourself? Or do you envision marriage in the future with this gentleman? Or how do you, when you foresee the future, how do you see it playing out?
Um, I don't know that I see myself ready for marriage again. I want to date, but there's a part of me that thinks living together without marriage is not, even at my age, even though I've been married, I just think, and that maybe that is part of it. If we move to that next step, I would feel more comfortable with the commitment, but he hasn't mentioned, uh, he's not certain about marriage.
Well, I would encourage you to remain mindful, to enjoy the times that you share with your gentleman friend. Do you have common interests? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
was he a coworker? How did you guys get
I
together?
met him through a dinner party, was introduced to him through friends. I played tennis in a social circle, and so friends of friends. And he has that in common as well.
Well, I would encourage you to, as I noted earlier, remain mindful, be in the moment, enjoy this newfound romance, if you don't mind my saying so, at this later stage of your life, and try not to get so caught up in the future. Just stay focused right now on having a good time, enjoying the time that you have together, the interests that you have in common, and not spend too much time focusing on what the future might be. It seems a reasonable approach to keep your own home. Not that you're doing that in case things don't work out, but financially it might be the most viable. I know living in the Atlanta area, I think you said you lived up in the Sandy Springs area, North Fulton County. Um, Property is valuable. Homes only seem to increase in value, and I myself would probably think that that would be a reasonable approach. Is he is he okay with that decision? Does he feel like you're holding out and not really certain if you want to maintain your own home as you?
No, absolutely for sure. I would keep the home, and I would plan on renting it.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems reasonable, and I've enjoyed the time we've had to talk today, and we will delve more into the intricacies and specifics as you ponder this big decision about your life changing environment. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.